Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. Previously an ordinary teenager named Mingfei is invited to attend an elite school but is hesitant to leave his crush behind. Just as he is about to confess his love, another boy swoops in and takes Mingfei's crush from him. In his desperate moment, a girl named Nono convinces him to attend the school and he finally agrees. The story continues as Mingfei navigates his way through the subway system in Chicago, but everyone he encounters assumes he is just a beggar. He attempts to convince everyone that he is actually rich, but only has $20 to his name. Just then, a man introduces himself as Finger and tells Mingfei a sad story in an attempt to get his money. Finger is able to tell that Mingfei is actually on his way to Cassell College and reveals that he also goes to school there. Mingfei is skeptical, but Finger shows proof and verifies that he is a senior at the school. The two discuss how hidden the school is and the state of the world, but Mingfei's next question is stopped when he sees that Finger is fast asleep. Mingfei falls asleep as well and has a strange dream where a group of people begin their attack on a castle. When he awakes, Mingfei finds a mysterious boy that warns him of the dangerous future. The message is a bit cryptic though, and the boy asks if Mingfei is ready. Mingfei offers him some money, and the boy states that even after all these years, he is still so kind. After being set ablaze, Mingfei wakes to hear the man collecting tickets and sees that he behaves much like a ghost. Mingfei introduces himself, and the man is shocked when he recognizes him as the S-class student. It is explained that all Mingfei simply has to do is swipe his card, and a train prepared specifically for him will come to the station. Mingfei is instantly recognized by the system as the only S-rank student, and the station comes to life. People are summoned to bid farewell to Mingfei, and the man mentions that is all something called his Yan Ling could do. The train arrives shortly after, and Guderian emerges to greet his cherished student. Mingfei is completely caught off guard but gives his thanks to Guderian. Guderian reveals that he wants to give Mingfei a lesson before entering the school. He offers him a drink, which is instead accepted by Finger, who Guderian just tells to get out of his sight. In order to keep the content of the admission guidance from being leaked, Mingfei is asked to sign a confidentiality agreement. Guderian doesn't want to frighten Mingfei, but explains that students in the past have gotten scared by the information. He explains that Cassell College is just like any other school, and the degree received is just as legitimate as any other. However, the object of the research is special. What they study there are dragons. Mingfei only knows them to be mythical creatures, and Guderian goes on to say that dragons are respected and feared. The history of their existence has been erased, and the purpose of the research is to kill them. The battle between man and dragon has gone on for thousands of years, and they must now prepare to bury the Dragon King once he is revived. Guderian explains that the school intends to cultivate a hero who can face the dragon, but Mingfei is now convinced that Guderian is actually a mental patient. Just then, the mysterious boy from earlier appears, and explains that he is also a passenger going to Cassell College. He instructs Mingfei to look out the window and explains that they are now in Dragon Country. The boy tells a story of how an ancient black dragon was killed on his throne, and it is the mountain that is always covered with ice and snow. The man who killed it placed its huge body atop the mountain, and that day is called the First Age. Mingfei then strangely wakes up, and Guderian explains that he was stunned during the tutoring session. Just then, a man named Toyama arrives and explains that Mingfei is the first S-class genius in the past 40 years. He then reveals very high-level relics as proof about the dragons. They are dragon scales, and Guderian strangely asks if Mingfei has used a gun. Mingfei has some military experience, and Toyama asks that he shoot the scale. Mingfei does, and quickly realizes that it is no ordinary scale. It was found in an ancient city in the 1900s, but Mingfei is still skeptical. The next piece of evidence was found in 1796 after being devoured by a snake. Dragons are very difficult to kill, so once the snake was opened up, the next specimen was found. It is an incredible sleeping red dragon cub, but Mingfei assumes that it's fake. Just then, the dragon awakes, and Guderian explains that it shouldn't have for some time. He determines that Mingfei's blood must have been calling to him. Luckily, the dragon falls back to sleep, and Guderian is more convinced than ever that Mingfei is special. Mingfei isn't able to stay upright though, and explains that his entire worldview has changed. Afterwards, he contemplates dropping out of the school, but Guderian reveals that he will then have to be brainwashed after signing the confidentiality agreement. Mingfei decides to try the school out for a couple of days, and Guderian explains how tiny his world is compared to the real world. He states that it is as small as a grain of rice on the wasteland, and formally welcomes him to Cassell College. As Mingfei takes a tour of the school, he notices that there are no students. Guderian notices as well and begins to realize what day it is. An alarm sounds as bullets begin to fly, and he explains that it's because of Caesar, the president of the student council. Guderian asks that Mingfei not be afraid, but is shot right in front of him. The battle intensifies as several students are shot, and Mingfei can only tremble in fear as the chaos continues. It's an absolute massacre as both sides suffer several casualties. A voice can be heard over the speakers explaining the few remaining fighters, and it is decided that they will meet at the center, leaving only a dangerous sniper that can't be found. Mingfei attempts to get a doctor's help but stumbles upon the meeting between the final combatants. The two demonstrate their exceptional swordplay as Mingfei can hardly follow their movements. Their powerful attacks damage the surrounding area and Mingfei is distracted when a third fighter appears. It's Nono and she tells him to get down as he is being targeted by the dangerous sniper. Unfortunately, she is shot and the sniper excitedly claims that they have won since Nono is dead. Something inside Mingfei awakens and asks if they should punish them for their crimes. He offers Mingfei his help and he instantly takes out the girl. He then uses her sniper to shoot Caesar and the other remaining fighter. Celebratory music then plays over the speakers and several nurses swarm the battlefield. Professor Main appears upset to see that a freshman was taking part in the war games and Mingfei is startled to see that Guderian is alive. Guderian explains that what he just witnessed was a live fire drill. This day is the school's free day and the students can do whatever they want. The bullets being used are actually powerful tranquilizer bullets that shatter and vaporize but don't hurt anyone. Professor Main is still upset about the fight and plans to complain to the principal. However, students explain that they haven't broken any rules and Main calls the principal to decide the outcome. Main explains how this year's Freedom Day has been very chaotic and how much repairs will cost the school. Caesar explains that his father can easily pay off the expenses, but the principal says it won't be necessary as it will be paid for by the school board fund. The principal states that free day is for them to do as they please, and old guys like them won't go back on their word. He explains that he would like to join them next year, and the students show their approval of their principal. He then requests to speak with Mingfei and expresses his amazement at how he was able to defeat both Caesar and Zhu Hang on the first day of school. Professor Main recommends that Mingfei should head to his dorm and points out how envious the other students are of him. Elsewhere, two men discuss how students 8 years ago had been extremely skilled and disciplined, but were still wiped out in battle. The president explains that he is beginning to think that they don't need an army to defeat the dragons, but instead just one genius. The other man explains that Caesar and Zhu Hang are geniuses, but Mingfei seems a bit too ordinary. The president states that there is a good reason why Mingfei was given S rank, but can't reveal why at the moment. Their next topic is the Kishan project. The man explains that Sheng and Aji are set to go into the water the next day, but wonders if what they are looking for is actually down there. The man explains that he is certain they have only been able to get close to him but has not been able to wake him up. He is a sleeping king and no one can predict his power. Mingfei arrives at his dorm to find that his roommate will be Finger. He is amazed that Mingfei won Freedom Day on the first day of school but points out how everyone hates him now. Finger gives him a tour of the massive school and Mingfei points out how normal all the students look. They don't seem like powerful dragon killers, but Finger explains it is because the Yangling of all the students has been suppressed. Mingfei is a bit confused, so Finger takes him to the Yanling teaching area. It is the only place in the school where Yanling can be used. It is usually performed by saying an incantation or with body movements. Some students practice using Yanling, and Finger explains that it can be seen as superpowers. Yanling are given numbers, and the lower the number, the more powerful it is. Finger explains that not everyone is proficient at using Yanling, just as the students' out-of-control powers are stopped by someone else's. They then come across a tree that is half withered and half glorious. It is a statue of the World Tree, and legend says that the Black Dragon King is suppressed under the World Tree. Guderian appears and requests that Mingfei accompany him as he wants him to take a test. He explains that tomorrow is the day of the 3E exam, but he has brought him there as he wants to see Mingfei's blood first. He has brought a sacred music box and explains that a mixed-race mechanic made it. It contains the dragon text of the Black Dragon King, and it is the beginning of all Yanling. It is ranked first in Yanling Zhu's list, and it is called Emperor. Mingfei is completely overwhelmed and questions if the professor is actually using human language. Guderian uses the music box and praises the awakening of his king. He wonders if Mingfei feels the call of blood, and gets excited to see that Mingfei is about to release the dragon's roar. It's just a yawn though, and Guderian refuses to believe nothing has happened, explaining that a mutation must be the reason. Mingfei explains that he might just be an ordinary person, but Guderian realizes something and leaves believing Mingfei is even more incredible than before. Finger reports to the rest of the school via the college news network that the S-rank Mingfei didn't respond to the Emperor Yanling. Mingfei expresses doubt about passing the 3E exam, and Finger recommends he just cheat. Mingfei seems insulted, but it becomes clear that he likes the idea. Elsewhere, Caesar explains to his group that they will lose access to the meeting hall because of their loss on Freedom Day. The students have a hard time accepting the decision, but Caesar explains that Zihang's group accepted the results. Just then, news begins to spread that the S-class freshman Mingfei doesn't resonate with Emperor Yanling. Elsewhere, Guderian recruits Professor Main and the two do some research. History shows that the Great White King and the Black King are supreme beings. The White King used an oracle to cleanse the blood of all his children so they don't have to ever bow to the Black King. The White King is the only one that can restrain the Emperor's Yanling, but it is said that all his descendants were buried with him. Main believes Mingfei might be the first subject and should be researched, but wonders if Guderian is trying to protect him. Guderian thinks Mingfei is a good kid, but Main reminds him that they are supposed to be training soldiers there. Main wants to make sure that a proper report is made about the subject, but there is a chance Mingfei has the blood of the White King, and Guderian doesn't want him becoming a test subject. Main explains that he will keep quiet for the time being, but will file the report if Mingfei fails the 3E exam. That night, a mysterious man activates the Eva personality program and requests that she let Mingfei pass the exam. She agrees, and we see that the two are actually very close. The next day, Mingfei arrives late to the exam and the room is locked down just as the test begins. All the students are shocked to find that all the test papers are blank, but Mingfei isn't since he was given information by finger. He explained that an audio track would be played and the students would begin to see hallucinations. It is called spirit vision, and they will have to copy the picture of the vision onto the blank paper. The girl beside Mingfei is surprisingly calm, and the instructor leaves just as the audio track begins to play. Luckily for Mingfei, Finger has been at the school for 8 years, and Finger has found that the answer for the test will be the same as when he first got to the college. He begins to copy down his answers and notices that all the students around him are beginning to hallucinate, but the girl from earlier remains calm. Outside, Nono explains that she was calm during her exam because she had a spiritual vision before the exam. Her vision was of her sleeping mother and a shadow approaching her. Her soul was taken and she passed away. Mingfei has completed answering 7 questions but is interrupted when he appears before the mysterious boy from earlier. His name is Mingzi, and he explains that this is Mingfei's spiritual vision. Mingfei is able to see what's hidden in his own heart, and that includes Mingzi. What is hidden deep in someone's heart is the scariest or the saddest. Mingzi goes on to say that humans are stupid, but Mingfei is different and deliberately makes himself stupid. He states that Mingfei is not sad because he is sad instead of him. Another vision shows the boy pushing Mingfei to his demise as the boy states he has grown tired of him. However, the final vision shows them relaxing, just as Nono appears to admire Mingfei for being able to sleep during an exam. She reveals that he strangely answered 9 questions when there were only 8, but everything seems to be okay. Later, Finger congratulates Mingfei for passing the exam and explains that he has chosen to take Professor Mance's class. The class has been cancelled recently though, since he is on a mission after traces of a dragon were found. We then see the mission as 2 students, Sheng and Aji, dive to investigate. A scan reveals that the area should be the site of a village that existed 1,000 years ago. They fix themselves to a point on the ground and Sheng calls on his vacuum snake to investigate. It is successful, and Sheng explains that the existence of huge metal has been detected below them. He continues to explore deeper with one last snake, but Professor Mance is informed that a powerful earthquake is about to begin. He attempts to warn his students, but it's far too late, and their signal is lost. All hope seems to be lost, and Mance now realizes just how different ancestral level dragons are to others. Just then, Sheng uses his snake to explain that they are still alive. They were swept deeper into the water, but have finally discovered what they were looking for. Thanks for watching part 2. Future parts will be in a pinned comment below.